What is going on, my fellow vegans? This is another episode of the Fit Foodie Podcast. I'm your host, Luis Mendrano, and in today's episode, I am talking about three mistakes that I made that made me a skinny fat vegan and what I do instead now to transform my body and how you can implement these strategies if you're struggling with your weight as a vegan, as a plant-based eater to transform your body, lose weight, feel great, and elevate your lives, guys. This is what this podcast is all about. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, guys, hope you're having an amazing day. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. So, first of all, what does it mean to be skinny fat? And especially as a vegan, eating mostly basically healthy foods, right? Fruits, vegetables, whole foods. Now, just because you're vegan doesn't automatically mean you're healthy, right? Or that you're eating a healthy diet. Really, you could be eating junk or on any diet, whether it's vegan or not. But what does it mean to be skinny fat? Essentially, this means that and this was me for many years as a vegan, right? I looked lean. I carried excess amount of weight though in my belly area, right? In my midsection. I looked lean when I wore clothes, right? I mean, anybody looking at me thought, I was a lean guy. I was an athlete. I played soccer. I played basketball. I was athlete. I generally try to work out, although I didn't have much structure back then. But I looked lean, but in the mirror, I could clearly see I had very little muscle definition. I had a lot of excess body fat, especially in my midsection, right? You could see the little muffin top hanging over my pants, over my belt, right? And that's basically what it means to be skinny fat. And this matters because for me, I wasn't representing the vegan lifestyle to its full potential the reason I went vegan in the first place was to obviously for ethical reasons and for the treatment, the compassionate lifestyle, and it just attracted to me, right? Eating healthy plant-based foods was something that I was really attracted to, and but I also wanted to be a good picture for the vegan lifestyle, right? Someone that was not only looked healthy, looked lean, but actually was it and was fit, right? And looked fit when I took off my shirt and when I looked in the mirror, when I was working out, I had the energy and I wanted to be live a fit vegan lifestyle. And to be skinny fat just was the opposite of what I wanted to do. And I struggled with that, right? And I struggled with having that look that didn't have much muscle definition, had a lot of excess belly fat. And that's essentially what it means to be skinny fat, right? Little muscle, excess belly fat, look lean, but really when you're sitting in front of the mirror and you're standing there in your underwear, that is not the picture of a fit body. And that was me for many years, guys. And if you are listening to this and you are a plant-based eater, a transitioning vegan, a new vegan, or a vegan foodie like myself, and you want to transform into a fit a fitter version of yourself, one that represents the vegan lifestyle as it should be, right? Someone who's right has an athletic look. I mean, I'm not saying you have to be an athlete, but you have a lean, strong, athletic look. You have the energy, and you're not like the stereotypical vegan, quote unquote hippie and skinny and scrawny, and that's not the picture of veganism that we want to represent. We want to represent vital, vibrant people who look fit and who are representing the vegan lifestyle in the right way. And the mistakes that I was making, guys, the three mistakes that I was making that I'm going to share in this episode, and what I do instead, the four things that I do instead that transform my body and that I've built as habits that I do consistently now that allow me to live my healthiest, fittest that I've ever been and continue to only get better from here, right? So let's jump right into it, guys. Mistake number one was I was overdoing cardio. Coming from a soccer background, I cardio was kind of part of the lifestyle for me. It was part of the game, part of the process, right? Playing soccer is a lot of cardio, a lot of running, and so that's what I knew growing up, right? Running was a thing. If I wanted to start exercising, my first go-to was always running. Now, I'm not here to knock running and to say that running is bad. It definitely has its place in fitness, but for me and for having this skinny fat look, doing too much cardio was not helping. It was not helping me to transform my body. And I was overdoing it. And that was always my go-to. And not just running, but things, home workouts and incorporating hit workouts, jumping jacks and high knees and all these different hit cardio home workout YouTube videos, online programs that involve a lot of cardio. and I was just simply overdoing it on cardio. And yes, cardio is important for cardiovascular health, for heart health, and for overall health. It definitely has its place in a wellness program. But for me, I was overdoing it and not really paying attention to other aspects of fitness that would transform my body, right? So that was mistake number one. And mistake number two is, yes, I was eating a vegan diet, mostly healthy foods. I mean, a lot of fruit, greens. I was a huge fruit and greens eater, nuts, seeds, and all the options that are out there as a vegan, and plant-based foods that are out there. But I really wasn't tracking anything. I had no idea how many calories I was eating. I had no idea how much protein I was eating, especially the protein, right? How much fat and carb. I know I was eating a lot of carbs. How much, I would not have been able to tell you how many carbs I was eating, right? I was not tracking any of that. And as a result, I know for a fact that I was not eating enough protein. And for body composition changes, protein, calories, fiber are like top of the pyramid when it comes to body composition changes, especially your protein, and especially on a plant-based diet, right? It's always like, where do you get your protein? Vegans don't get enough protein. You absolutely can. There's plenty of sources out there. You can get more than an adequate amount of protein. And me, I just wasn't tracking it. I wasn't getting adequate amount of protein, and as a result, my body was not changing, right? Mistake number three, this kind of goes with mistake number one about overdoing cardio. I was not paying attention to weight training, to strength training, resistance training. I was neglecting it. I would do it here and there. I simply didn't know what to do. I was also kind of hesitant to become a gym member. For me, it was like, I don't need the gym. I can get fit, doing 20-minute home workouts. And I never wanted to join the gym. To me, it wasn't quote unquote, it wasn't my thing, right? To go to the gym, probably because didn't know what the heck I was doing, right? I didn't know what to do, but that wasn't my thing. And I was neglecting weight training. And again, for body composition changes, to lose body fat, to look like I have muscle on my frame, I had to start incorporating strength training. And like I said, I would do it. And playing soccer, there was some strength exercises, especially legs. I mean, that's always been my best feature. My wife tells me she love loves my legs, and that was the one thing that she fell in love with when we first started dating, right? But so I have good, strong legs because of soccer. We did a lot of strength with legs, but my upper body, I neglected strength training, weight training, and I did it here and there. I would do push-ups and a little bit of dumbbell work at home, but I never had a program where I was focused on doing strength training consistently week in, week out, and I was neglecting it. And as a result, my body was not changing. And so, because of these three mistakes, overdoing cardio, not tracking my protein, neglecting weight training, I continued to have that skinny fat look, right? I looked lean. I liked the way I looked in my clothes, but really it was like, because I could see that I had excess body fat on my tongue, in my belly area. I always felt that I needed to cut weight, that I needed to lose weight, that I needed to, go on a 6-week challenge to shed body fat. And it was always that cycle of doing that, gaining it back, doing that. And even when I would lose weight, I would look in the mirror and just kind of not see much muscle definition. And it's because of these mistakes that I was making, right? So what I started doing instead, these are the four things that I started doing consistently. And as a result, the my body began to transform, and I got to actually see what we think of as a fit body, looking lean. I could see muscles, I could see ab definition, I could flex and see bicep muscles, right? My legs, and just overall muscle definition throughout my whole body, right? And these are the things that I did that made the change. Now, I'm not gonna part of this discussion, part of one of these things does have to do with nutrition, but this episode, this live, I'm not gonna jump too much into being in a calorie deficit and eating less calories than you burn, which is the key in losing body fat. That is part of it. That's for a whole nother episode. We won't talk too much about that today, but I did want to talk about these four habits that, along with dialing in your nutrition and hitting your calorie and protein targets, will allow you to shed body fat and reveal the muscles that are under all that fat that you carry, right? Which is, we're getting rid of that skinny fat look and looking lean, fit as a vegan, as a plant-based foodie, right? So number one is, I began to lift weights consistently 4 times a week, 3 to 4 times a week, 3 to 5 times a week, depending on the plan, right? And I stuck to the same ex basic fundamental exercises week in and week out with variations, of course, to switch things up and to work on, certain muscle groups that I maybe needed to work on. But the basics like squats, right? Like push exercises, pull exercises, pull ups, bench presses, barbell squats, dumbbell squats, um, those kind of basic compound movements, and then doing the auxiliary movements like, tricep pull downs or doing other work with equipment at the gym, doing some of the machines and including I had a plan in place that I followed. I didn't go in doing random workouts, but the thing is I lifted weights consistently, right? 3 to 5 times a week, depending on the program that I was on. And I stuck with it. Along with that, I included some cardio, but it wasn't the main focus. Things shifted where now cardio was an accessory to the weight training, right? The weight training became the focus. That was number one. I'm not going to get into the details of these, could all be episodes on their own. I could do a whole episode on weight training and the other habits that I'm going to do, but I just want to talk about those, basically those 4 things that I did to get your mind to start cooking and start thinking about how you can do these things and what you can do to start changing the way your body looks, right, for the better. So lifting weights. And number two, I began to focus and actually track the amount of protein that I was eating. Basically, I began to eat protein foods. Now, as a vegan, we're talking about things like tofu, right? And there's many different kinds of tofu. Things like seitan, and again, there's many different brands and kinds of seitan. Incorporating plant-based protein powders as a supplement, tempeh, soy curls, beans, seeds like pumpkin seeds and hemp seeds and other protein foods that together combined in a meal plan really bumped up my protein and allowed me to hit my protein goals consistently, right? And I was doing that along with hitting my calorie targets, allowed my body to start shedding fat and start building muscle, right? So eating my protein consistently, right? Now, I'm not saying be perfect, right? I missed workouts here and there. I missed my meal plans and nutrition here and there, but getting it done most of the time is going to make the difference. So when I'm talking about these things, I do them most of the time. I'm not perfect. I'm not telling you to be perfect every day, but most of the time they get done right. Number three, one of my favorites, I began to incorporate walking every day. Walking. I bought a simple, if you guys are watching this, simple $20 step tracker on Amazon, and I use that right now. I have 9,100. My goal is 10,000 a day, right? So I'm almost there. And I just walked every day, and that was my main form of cardio, walking. No running. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you like running, if you like cycling or swimming or whatever your choice of cardio is, by all means. But for me, walking is very practical. I can do it at home on my treadmill. I can do it around the block, walking my dog. At the gym, I could walk around between exercises, just walking every day. And I started to track it, right? 10,000 steps a day is my goal. And I hit that most days because I focus on walking. That's my main form of cardio, right? You'll be surprised how good you feel mentally. What I like to do is put on my earphones, listen to books. So I'm learning at the same time, right? Or motivational music or your favorite music, whatever, right? Walk your dog is a great way to go for a walk with your family, with your loved ones, or just make that your cardio. If you got cardio that you want to do every week, maybe do 20 minutes every time you go to the gym to get your cardio done. So I started walking every day and being intentional about it, right? And then the fourth habit that I started to incorporate is drinking my water at least 3 liters every single day. Now, this is how I am able to do that easily. So if you're watching this, I have my bottle, which is 2 liters, right? This is 2 liters. So what I do is in the morning, first thing, I fill up 1 liter of water in the morning with a squeeze of lemon juice and a pinch of salt, and I drink that in a matter of like 15, 20 minutes. I already knocked out a third of my water intake first thing in the morning. And then throughout the day, I just make sure I sip on this. As long as I finish this, then I know I had at least 3 liters. On top of that, anything else that I do is extra and bonus, right? Like maybe I have a 0 calorie soda or Diet Coke or, a Zevia soda, or I had some more water or some coffee or any teas, things like that, or just adding to my water intake. So those are all bonuses, right? But at least 3 liters of water. And again, easy way to track it. I know I have 1 jar in the morning and I have my jug, which is 2 more liters. So I know if I drank that, I'm good. I met my goal. And again, guys, the tracking aspect of it is super important. I'm not saying you have to like get a spreadsheet and do all this. Just tracking with my water bottle, again, a jar and then my main bottle. With my steps, a simple uh watch like this. Maybe you have an Apple Watch or something else, but I just a $20 watch that I got on Amazon, tracking it, right? With the protein, using my Fitness Pal and tracking my meals in there, right? Lifting weights, having a pre-program. You don't just go to the gym and show up, be like, what should I do today? I don't know. Let's see. Everything is tracked, right? But it's not a tedious thing that's like confusing and oh my gosh, I gotta have spreadsheets and track. No, you just pick how you're going to easily track each thing, and just doing them most of the time and being as consistent as you can is going to make the difference, guys. This is how you're going to transform your body. This is how I got rid of that skinny fat look once and for all after being vegan for, I'm going on almost 20 years now as a vegan, right? Made a lot of mistakes, learned a lot, right? Grew a lot, lost a lot of weight, gained it all back, did the whole thing, lived as a skinny fat vegan, and finally got rid of that by changing those 3 mistakes of overdoing cardio, not eating enough protein, and neglecting weight training, and doing these 4 things, right? Lifting weights, eating my protein, walking every day, and drinking at least 3 liters of water every day, and then tracking these things and doing them most of the time. Guys, that's it. If you are struggling with your body composition and you want to shed fat and you want to put on muscle and you have a skinny fat look, or you just generally want to feel better and look better, follow these tips and they will make a difference in how you look and how you feel, guys. Hope you enjoyed this episode. This is the Fit Foodie Podcast, the place for plant-based foodies that want to get fit, lose weight, and elevate their lives, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you're on this live, much love. I appreciate you checking it out. I will see you in the next one. Peace, love, and enjoy the rest of your day.